Well, welcome. All of us are here obviously to be involved in the business in one way or another, whether we're going to start an ancillary business, whether you're going to start a treatment center, as they're going to be called here, you're going to cultivate. None of it happens unless we all get out and vote on November. And we all need to vote yes on 2. And if we don't do that, this is all a bunch of waste of time. So I encourage all you guys to go out there. I'm sure you do talk to your friends, but try and make a concerted effort to even talk to strangers. United for Care's back there. I don't know if they have these little business cards, but if they do, try and get some from them. I encourage you to, when you're in a restaurant, leave it with your tip. Spread the word any way that you can. Some of you guys have heard me a bunch, so I'm gonna kind of briefly go over what I've talked about as far as finding a master grower. They're not really easy to find. There's no Growers or Us. They're not in the yellow pages. You're gonna have a real hard time just thinking you're gonna go to Denver or go out to California and just find some guys going to move to Florida to cultivate. So that being said, they're out there. There are guys that are going to come here, but master growers tend to have a big ego. You want to make sure that you have a good relationship with these people, so you want to make sure you're on the same page and that you can get along with somebody. I mean, you're going to hear this a lot. I grow the best medicine, the best cannabis. No one grows as good as I do. No one can do what I do, and then out comes the pictures and everything else. So you need to bleed through this, and I guess the best thing I can do is tell you kind of need to educate yourself. So coming to these seminars, you've already done that. And if you've heard me speak, you've gotten a pretty decent education so far. But if you haven't done all those things, because I know there's some new people here, I suggest you go out and buy a book by Jorge Cervantes. That's George in Spanish, which you guys probably understand. And the book that you're looking for is the Indoor-Outdoor Medical Marijuana Guide. It's called the Bible. He's got a bunch of them out there. You want the 318-page color version. If you read that, you'll have at least a good basic knowledge of what's going on in cultivation, so at least you have some kind of educated idea of who you're talking to and what they're telling you has some validity to it. Cultivating. So right here, this is a grow that I helped put together in Arizona. So this is the veg room. This is something they wanted to do. They found this, it's like a Mylar board, so they've enclosed the whole room that way. That's leading down. So the theory here and why I show you this is ballast put out heat as well as lights. So some of the things you want to look at when you're building these rooms out is the ability to either, if you're stacking, this is what they'd be called stacking. So this is looking from the mezzanine down from that room I just showed you. That's going to be a flower room below there. So they have, to dissipate some of the heat, they put the ballast and run them along the roof. So you have less heat down in your grow room. That's a dehumidifier, guys. It's a 205-pint dehumidifier. It's $5,000. You need at least a couple of them in a 1,000-square foot room. Everybody knows what ballast looks like. That's another way of setting your ballast on the outside of your room. This is half of a 10-bed room. So you can see all the lights are hanging from the ceiling. You can look up on, I wish I could zoom this in a little bit. You can look up along the top part. You can see the AC ductings go down. Basically, you want to make sure when you're AC in your rooms that you disperse your air. You can't just have air blowing into your room. You need to disperse your air over your canopy so it bleeds through the room and falls over your canopy. This room isn't quite done. There's going to be 2 fans along that side wall. You always want to make sure that you have cross ventilation. That's the other dehum in the room and the other side of lights. This room is going to be enclosed room, so they're going to run CO2 in that room. And you see there in the corner a big carbon filter with a blower on top. That's what's called a scrubber. So what that does is it takes the air in the room, runs it through the carbon filter, and helps purify it to change smell. So you don't have as much smell in the room. That is part of the whole AC system and ducting right there. And then I'll get up there and show you. So this point through here, right through here, that's part of, all those lights have the ability to duct them so you can run cold air through them, so you can cool the bulbs down a little bit. Basically, you're not running AC air because you don't want to cool the bulbs too much because you're going to get more blue light. But you just run passive air through there. You can only do that on about 4 or 5 different hoods. You really want to get with the manufacturers and find out what their recommendation is for that. But that's part of the system. So you're sucking the air through your hoods, cooling those lights down from putting extra heat in your room, and then exhausting that out a carbon filter out the roof. This was just storage. Those were the lights for the ballast that I showed you the picture before that have the ballast along the roof. There's 450 gallons there, guys. Each one of those rooms is going to end up, by the time you're in your 6th, 7th, 8th week, you're going to be putting anywhere from 350 to 400 gallons in that room. So that's why you have dehumps. It's very important. I'm going to talk a little bit about nutrients. There's a lot of nutrient lines out there. General Hydro is probably the most known as far as the first one that really came about. It was a hydroponic nutrient line when hydroponics first became big in the 70s. Right now, if you're growing cannabis, everybody wants to grow organic, but there are synthetic lines out there. Probably the 2 most popular are going to be Advanced Nutrients and House and Garden. They're the only ones on the market that actually were formulated for the cannabis plant. And Advanced Nutrients does have somewhat of a organic line as well. Basically, if you're going to grow organic, probably the best one out there for organic growing is Roots Organic, in my opinion, other than Vegan Matrix or Veganics, which is what I intend to use. And I would encourage everybody to look at this. So when you're looking at organics, everybody knows about growing and buying organic and eating healthier. Well, Kyle Cushman went the wrong way. Kyle Cushman has won about 22 cannabis cups. He's been the editor for High Times. He taught the cultivation class at Oaksterdam University for a couple of years. When he taught that class, he used to give out to his students a ball jar, which had a bunch of micronutrients and stuff in it, get them to try and get more into the organic way of doing things. And if you're lucky to have gotten that, you really ended up with a kind of a special crop. So he spent a lot of time and a lot of years developing this nutrient line. It is a totally veganic nutrient line. And what I mean by that is there's no animal byproducts in it at all. So all the nutrients that this plant needs comes totally from animal products, or not animal products, but from vegetative products like kelp and those type of things. So there's no bat guano, there's no sea guano, there's none of those things in this nutrient line. So if you grow with Vegan Matrix, you're going to end up with a lot better crop in the sense because you have to grow with this nutrient light and you have to change your dirt. So no longer are you going to use Fox Farm, you're probably going to have to develop your own dirt. You want to have soil, and a lot of guys that grow outdoors in Northern California understand this. They grow their soil. So in the off years, they put things in their soil so that they have living organisms and microbiotics in there to help support the next year's crop. So you're going to need to adjust what you're using for soil, and you're going to need to create your own soil so that you have a soil that is creating all kinds of microbiotics, all kinds of other nutrients that help the plant with water uptake, nutrient uptake. Using organics versus synthetic, you're going to have less nutrient burns with organic than with synthetic. Your THC values are going to be better with organic. Your terrapin values, which Dr. Wright King talked about, is going to be off the chart. Organic grown terrapin values are a lot higher than synthetic. And as she said, terrapin is really a large part of this plant. So that pretty much brings me to the end of this. Like I said, most of this you can't do unless you vote yes on 2.